The Lotus Sutra Ch.12 Devadatta. The Buddha then addressed the assembly of bodhisattvas, and also the devas, humans, and the fourfold assembly, saying, quote, "In the past, immeasurable kalpas ago, I tirelessly sought the Lotus Sutra. Throughout many kalpas, I always became a king and made a vow to seek highest enlightenment. My mind became irreversible. Wanting to fulfill the 6 perfections, I diligently carried out practices, unstintingly giving elephants, horses, the 7 precious treasures, countries and cities, wives and children, male and female servants, my head, eyes, marrow and brains, the flesh of my body, hands and feet, without stinginess, not even hesitating to give my own life. At that time, the lifespan of the people in the world was immeasurable. In order to seek the Dharma, I abandoned my kingdom and abdicated my throne to the crown prince. Beating a drum, I proclaimed to the 4 directions that I was seeking the Dharma, saying, quote, I will be as a servant for the rest of my life to whosoever can teach me the Mahayana. At that time, there was a sage who came to this king and said, quote, I possess the Mahayana teaching called the Lotus Sutra. If you faithfully obey me, I will expound it to you. Having heard the sage, the king became joyful and ecstatic, and, accompanying the sage, he did everything he was asked. He gathered fruits, drew water, collected firewood, and provided meals. He even provided his own body as a bed for the sage. Yet he never tired in either body or mind, and in this way served the sage for 1,000 years. For the sake of the Dharma, he served him diligently, making certain the sage never lacked for anything. At that time, the Bhagavat, wanting to elaborate on the meaning of this further, spoke these verses, quote, I remember that in the past, many kalpas ago, although I became king of the world, in order to seek the great Dharma, I was never attached to the desires of the 5 senses. Striking a bell, I declared this to the 4 directions, quote, If anyone possesses the great Dharma and explains it to me, I will become his servant. At that time, there was a sage called Asita, who came to the great king and said, quote, I possess a subtle and true Dharma that is rare in the world. If you are able to practice it, I will explain it to you. On hearing what the sage said, the king became overjoyed. He immediately accompanied the sage and performed whatever he was asked. He gathered firewood and various fruits, and respectfully offered them whenever requested. Because he longed for the true Dharma, he never tired in body or mind. For the sake of sentient beings, he diligently sought everywhere the great Dharma. He never sought it for his own sake, nor for the desires of the 5 senses. For this reason, although a great king, he diligently sought and attained this Dharma, ultimately becoming a Buddha. That is why I now tell you this. The Buddha addressed the monks, saying, quote, The king at that time was I myself, and the sage was he who is now Devadatta. Through the virtuous friendship of Devadatta, I was able to become endowed with the 6 perfections, benevolence, compassion, sympathetic joy, generosity, the 32 marks, the 80 excellent characteristics, reddish gold skin, the 10 powers, the 4 kinds of fearlessness, the 4 methods of gaining trust, the 18 excellent qualities, the transcendent powers, and the power of the path. It is all due to the good and virtuous friendship of Devadatta that I attained complete enlightenment and extensively saved innumerable sentient beings. The Buddha addressed the fourfold assembly, saying, quote, After immeasurable kalpas have passed, Devadatta will then become a Buddha called Devaraja, a Tathagata, Arhat, completely enlightened, perfect in knowledge and conduct, well departed, knower of the world, unsurpassed, tamer of humans, teacher of devas and humans, Buddha, Bhagavat. His world will be called Devasopana. At that time, the Buddha Devaraja will abide in the world for 20 intermediate kalpas and extensively teach the true Dharma to sentient beings. Sentient beings equal in number to the sands of the Ganges River will attain arhatship. The thought of a Pratyeka Buddha has awakened in incalculable numbers of sentient beings. The thought of the highest path will awaken in sentient beings equal in number to the sands of the Ganges River, and they will become convinced of the non-arising of all dharmas and reside in the stage of non-retrogression. Then, after the parinirvana of the Buddha Devaraja, the true Dharma will abide in the world for 20 intermediate kalpas. A 7-jeweled stupa, 60 yojanas in height and 40 yojanas in both length and width, will be built for all his relics, and all the devas and humans will honor and revere this beautiful 7-jeweled stupa with various flowers, scented powders, burning incense, fragrant ointments, clothing, necklaces, banners, flags, jeweled canopies, music, and songs. Incalculable sentient beings will attain arhatship. Innumerable sentient beings will be enlightened as Pratyeka Buddhas, and the thought of enlightenment will awaken in an inconceivable number of sentient beings, and they will reach the stage of non-retrogression. The Buddha addressed the monks, saying, quote, "If, in the future, there are sons and daughters of a virtuous family who, upon hearing the Devadatta chapter of the Lotus Sutra, accept it with pure minds and without doubt, they shall not fall into the realms of hell, or to the states of hungry ghosts, or of animals, but will be born in the presence of the Buddhas in the 10 directions. Wherever they may be, they will always hear this sutra. If they are born among humans or devas, they will enjoy a supreme and delightful contentment. And if in the presence of a Buddha, they will be born spontaneously in a lotus flower." At that time, in the lower region, there was a bodhisattva called Prajnakuta, who was accompanying the Bhagavat Prabhutaratna. He urged the Buddha Prabhutaratna to return to their original land. The Buddha Sakyamuni addressed Prajnakuta, saying, quote, "O son of a virtuous family, wait for a moment. There is a bodhisattva called Manjusri. Let us meet him together and discuss the true Dharma. After that you can return to your original land." At that time, Manjusri, sitting on a 1,000-petaled lotus flower as large as a carriage wheel, together with attendant bodhisattvas also seated on jeweled lotus flowers, emerged spontaneously out of the ocean from the palace of the Naga king Sagara and floated in mid-air. Arriving at Mount Gridhrakuta, they descended from the lotus flowers and went into the presence of the Buddhas, where they bowed until their foreheads touched the feet of both Bhagavats. Having honored them, Manjushri approached Prajnakuta. They greeted each other and withdrew to sit at one side. Then Bodhisattva Prajnakuta asked Manjushri, saying, "Your Eminence, how many sentient beings did you lead and inspire at the palace of the Naga king?" Manjushri answered, "The number is immeasurable and incalculable. It is not possible to express it in words, nor is it possible to calculate it with one's mind. Wait a moment, and you will have proof." Before he had finished speaking, innumerable bodhisattvas emerged from the ocean, seated on jeweled lotus flowers. Arriving at Mount Gridhrakuta, they floated in mid-air. All of these were bodhisattvas who had been led and inspired by Manjushri. Those who had perfected the bodhisattva practices discussed the 6 perfections together. Those who were originally Shravakas explained the Sravaka practices in the air, and now they all practice to understand the meaning of emptiness of the Mahayana. Manjushri said to Prajnakuta, "Thus did I lead and inspire people in the ocean." Thereupon, Bodhisattva Prajnakuta spoke these verses in praise, quote, "O one of great wisdom, virtue, and courage, this assembly and I have now all witnessed that you have led and inspired incalculable numbers of sentient beings. You have expounded the essential nature of dharmas and revealed the teaching of the single vehicle. You have extensively led many sentient beings, causing them to quickly attain enlightenment." Manjushri said, quote, "In the ocean, I always expounded only the Lotus Sutra." Then Prajnakuta questioned Manjushri, saying, quote, "This sutra is profound and subtle. It is a jewel among sutras and rare in the world. If sentient beings diligently strive to practice this sutra, will they immediately become Buddhas or not?" Manjushri answered, "Yes, they will. There is the daughter of the Naga king Sagara, who is only 8 years old. She is wise, her faculties are sharp, and she also well knows all the faculties and deeds of sentient beings. She has attained the power of recollection. She preserves all the profound secret treasures taught by the Buddhas, enters deep meditation, and is well capable of discerning all dharmas. She instantly produced the thought of enlightenment and attained the stage of non-retrogression. She has unhindered eloquence and thinks of sentient beings with as much compassion as if they were her own children. Her virtues are perfect. Her thoughts and explanations are subtle and extensive, merciful and compassionate. She has a harmonious mind and has attained enlightenment." Bodhisattva Prajnakuta said, quote, "I see the Tathagata Sakya Muni, who has been incessantly carrying out difficult and severe practices for immeasurable kalpas, accumulating merit and virtue while seeking the Bodhisattva path. Looking into the great manifold cosmos, there is not a single place, even the size of a mustard seed, where this Bodhisattva has not abandoned his life for the sake of sentient beings. He attained the path to enlightenment only after this. It is hard to believe that this girl will instantly attain complete enlightenment." Before he had finished speaking, the daughter of the Naga king suddenly appeared in their presence. Bowing until her forehead touched their feet, she withdrew to one side and spoke these verses in praise, quote, "The Buddha is deeply versed in the characteristics of good and evil, and he completely illuminates the 10 directions. His subtle and pure Dharma body is endowed with the 32 marks. With the 80 good characteristics is his Dharma body adorned. He is adored by devas and humans and honored by nagas. There is no sentient being who does not pay him homage. Moreover, that I will attain enlightenment upon hearing him can only be known by a Buddha. I will reveal the teaching of the Mahayana and save suffering sentient beings." At that time, Sariputra spoke to the daughter of the Naga king, saying, quote, "You say that you will soon attain the highest path. This is difficult to believe. Why is this? The female body is polluted. It is not a vessel for the Dharma. How can you attain highest enlightenment? The Buddha path is long. One can only attain it after diligently carrying out severe practices and completely practicing the perfections over immeasurable kalpas. Moreover, the female body has 5 obstructions. The first is the inability to become a great Brahma. The second is the inability to become Sakra. The third is the inability to become Mara, and the fourth is the inability to become a universal monarch. The fifth is the inability to become a Buddha. How can you, with your female body, quickly become a Buddha? Then the daughter of the Naga king presented to the Buddha a jewel worth the great manifold cosmos, and the Buddha accepted it. The daughter of the Naga king spoke to Bodhisattva Prajnakuta and the noble Sariputra, saying, quote, I offered a jewel and the Bhagavat accepted it. Was that done quickly or not? They answered, saying, quote, It was done extremely quickly. The daughter said, Through your transcendent powers, watch me become a Buddha even more quickly than that. Then the assembly there all saw the daughter of the Naga king instantly transform into a man, perfect the Bodhisattva practices, go to the Vimala world in the south, sit on a jeweled lotus flower, and attain highest, complete enlightenment, become endowed with the 32 marks and 80 excellent characteristics, and expound the true Dharma universally for the sake of all sentient beings in the 10 directions. Then the Bodhisattvas, Shravakas, 8 kinds of Devas, Nagas, and so on, humans and non-humans of the Saha world, all saw in the distance that the daughter of the Naga king had become a Buddha and was universally teaching the Dharma for the sake of the humans and Devas in that assembly. They rejoiced greatly and honored her from afar. On hearing the Dharma, incalculable numbers of sentient beings became enlightened and attained the stage of non-retrogression. Incalculable numbers of sentient beings received their predictions to the path, and the Vimala world quaked in 6 ways. In the Saha world, 3,000 sentient beings attained the stage of non-retrogression, and 3,000 sentient beings in whom the thought of enlightenment had awakened received their predictions. The Bodhisattva Prajnakuta, Sariputra, and the entire assembly accepted and believed in silence.